Hi everyone, welcome back to My Kind of Theory. Happy New Year to everybody. And firstly, before we get into today's episode, I think we owe everybody an apology. We were meant to air this, when I say air, we're live. We were meant to do this previously back in December. However, due to a few issues and a few shuffles going on with the team, we didn't get everything together in time. So apologies, everybody. But we're starting the new year with a bang because today we are joined by Jeff Owens, who is one of the board members at Kind Theory. But rather than introduce Jeff, I'm going to quickly do a brief introduction of myself and a visual description, and then I'll pass over to Jeff to introduce themselves. So, for anyone who is watching, my name is Jimmy Shields. I am a white male with short dark hair. I said short dark hair, it's really messy, it needs a haircut. And it's definitely all hairspray to one side. I have blue eyes and I have a dark, short beard. I'm wearing a black top and I'm sitting in my office with the biggest, brownest headphones and a big red mic at the top of my screen. So great to be here. Jeff, I'm going to pass over to you.
Thanks, Jamie. So my name is Jeff Owens. I'm an older white male with short salt and pepper hair. I have brown eyes, and I'm wearing a purple shirt in honor of Kind Theory. And I'm on an autistic person with ADHD, um, and my pronouns are he/him.
Fantastic. I also forgot to give my pronouns. Mine are also he, him. Jeff, thank you so much for firstly for the shuffling and bearing with us as we reshuffle things, but secondly for being here with me today. I'm excited for the conversation, and who knows where we'll end up. As usual, everybody, if you have watched this before, we like to go on a journey here. Things are very relaxed. We don't have script questions. Everything's very in the moment. So if you do have questions, please let us know. I am going to pop a banner up now with Jeff's LinkedIn account. So if you do want to follow and connect with Jeff, please do so. And if you do have any questions, please post them in the chat today as we're going through. If you see me suddenly head bob forward or go off camera, that is because I'm registered blind, reading comments. Don't panic, everything is good. I'm just going close to the keyboard and the mouse and screen, everything. So, Jeff, before we get into the kind of by kind theory, I want to hear some of your journey because before the show, you sent me across your bio and I was reading through it, and it sounds like you've accomplished so much, but equally, you are still learning about yourself. Without giving too much away there, do you want to take over and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. I live in Texas, in the south of the U.S., and though I wasn't born in Texas, I've been here most of my early years up till now. Um, I'm a I don't have any siblings, so I'm an only child, and I traveled a lot when I was young with my parents with their work, um, and eventually. Um, Went to school here and pursued music in college. That was actually my focus was music, was piano. Um, and then eventually, when I got out, I got interested in. Well, I've always been interested in computers, so I got interested in computers and eventually got interested in programming, and that's what I do today. Um, I'm a director of software development for a mobile company called Semaphore Mobile here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Um, but as far as my um, journey, I think I probably would describe it as somewhat typical for a lot of autistic people. Um, Difficulty making friends and keeping them. This social stuff was always hard. Sensory issues, always difficult for me. Um, and so I always had these things, including some other things that were going on, and I never knew why. Right? You just kind of deal with it and do the best you can, and so that's kind of how I was making my way through life. And it wasn't until 2 years ago that I actually discovered I was autistic, quite by chance. I was on social media and I saw a link that said, see if you're on the spectrum. So I clicked on the link, took, one of those autism assessment screening tests that they have out there and scored really highly, which was quite surprising. because I didn't know much of anything about autism. So I thought, okay, this test has to be flawed. So I took every every other screening test I could find, and of course they all said you might be autistic. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it's about time I learn about autism because I think, like most from my generation, our exposure was from film and TV, like the movie Rain Man, of course, with Dustin Hoffman. And that was about the extent of mine, some documentaries and that. And as I started reading about autism, it was just like describing myself. I was really surprised. Um, and then it took a while, but I found the autistic community online. And it took a while for me to find what I would consider like good resources and that. And then once I started interacting with other autistic people and started asking questions, it was like I found my tribe. I knew I was autistic for sure, and then had to decide what did I want to do with that information, and that kind of started the process of getting an official diagnosis, and then talking to my family and a few of my friends at that time. So that's a bit of a long-winded story about my background.
I was smiling and nodding the whole way through because I think a lot of it resonated so much for myself. I am also autistic and I am registered blind and I'm also ADHD, which I knew I was registered blind from birth. So it wasn't like a surprise. I grew up with that. I didn't realize I was neurodivergent and autistic, and I had self-diagnosed as ADHD. But the night before my ADHD assessment, my official diagnosis, I sat down with my partner and I said, what happens if they tell me I'm autistic? Because I've done all this research on what is to be ADHD, and I haven't considered autism. And my partner says, "I could be fine, whatever it is. You'll come to terms with it. You'll manage it." And in the assessment, I was told at the end, and the lady said to me, and I'll never forget it. She said, "I shouldn't tell you this, but I highly suspect you're autistic, and I think you need a referral." And it was like, as you said, you go down a rabbit hole of trying to find the resources, trying to make sense of who you were and how this has actually impacted your life. Because one, it's like Pandora's box, you open it, and all these things that you didn't know were actually related to this part of your identity, your way of thinking, your way of doing things. All of a sudden, it's like, this makes sense. This is why this happened. But equally, it makes sense why it's happened. But it's like, how do I now put the lid back on? Because how do I get the support? Um, which leads me to yourself. So I'm not going to give away your website, I'm going to let you talk about this, but I have looked through your website, and I think for anybody who is getting their diagnosis, who is asking themselves, where do I get as much information as possible, or where am I getting information that is I know has supported other people? Because there's so much information. It's what is the right information. So, Jeff, can you tell me about your experience of trying to get that information together, and then tell us about your website that you created?
Yeah, that thanks for that question. So I guess for myself, since I'm in technology, you might say I have a master's in Google search, right? So I know really good ways and places to find good information, even though I have all of that skill set in my background. I have to say it wasn't as easy as I expected it would be to find really good resources. Um, I think the first thing you put in, at least when I did it, when I put in the word autism, autism speaks was the first thing you get. And then, finding the autism community online took a bit of research as well. And through that experience, kind of my struggles of finding what I would consider personally uh, resources that were helpful for me. It took me a while, to be honest, and so I started like just cataloging all of these resources that I would find because I don't have a great memory. That's actually one of the interesting um, parts of my neurodiversity. I'm also ADHD. I'm the opposite of you, Jamie. I was diagnosed with autism, and then one of my boys is ADHD, and my wife was like, "You need to get tested for ADHD as well." So I did, and of course that came back as positive as well. So, anyways, memory has been a bit of an issue for me my whole life. I don't have what they call a good autobiographical memory. So, memory of my past or past events is just like hardly there at all. And so, anyways, I have like this whole system of capturing information so I can keep it and find it later. And so I did that with all these autism resources and links. And then at some point when I decided that um, I wanted to make those available, I was trying to think of a good way to do that. And that's where the idea came for building a website. And the website is autism-101.com. And it, as Jamie said, has a section for people that think they might be autistic. And it's like, well, what are my next steps? What do I do? It talks about the pros and cons of seeking an official diagnosis. There's some good things about it, and there's some potentially not so good things about it, and especially depending upon where you live. And it can be quite expensive to get tested as well. So I talk about those things and provide resources and links. And then I have a bunch of uh, educational resources where you can get in touch with information written by autistic people. So both books and websites, YouTube channels, all the different social media outlets. I've got places for you to get started and how to kind of get connected with our community. Um, and so that was kind of my first way of you know giving back to the community was doing that, and hopefully it'll be helpful for some.
100%. It's definitely, I think, definitely more than helpful. And for anyone who is on screen, their website has been up at the bottom on the, I think it's a banner on the screen. I can't actually see it, but I clicked the button, so I'm hoping it is there. And that will bring you directly to Jeff's website. Now, this website, again, there's something I love about when we are discovering ourselves. I feel like within the community of not just being neurodivergent or autistic, but equally within the disability space as well, when we are going through these journeys, a way first I find that we heal is by sharing knowledge. It's about sharing what we found or the resources we found. So for me, Jeff, I wish I would have found this back in March last year when I got my first diagnosis. So when I got my diagnosis for autism, because it would have saved me months and months of looking. Because the hardest thing for me is it's that intersectional disability coming in with my eyesight was where are the accessible resources that I can actually engage with? Because a lot of the content I was finding in social media was really bright and luminous colors. And I was like, I can't read this text. What does this say? Help me. And my partner actually went through it at the same time. So I feel very privileged because I had somebody there to kind of go through the journey with me who was able to read it to me. But I think having this collection of resources, I think, is it's just incredible. So if you are watching, share these resources with your friends, share it with your employers. Jeff, who is on LinkedIn, I'm sure would love to hear from you if you have any suggestions. But by the signs of it, and from what I've seen, there you haven't missed any avenue. People say read a book or go listen to a podcast, but you have covered every kind of scenario. Content creators, vlogs, YouTube content. Everything is there, and it's really neatly organized. Because I myself am terrible at organizing. That's why I've wrote my partner into being my virtual assistant because I can't organize my life at all. So I wanted to hear more about your experiences, Jeff, because obviously, as a parent of a child who's neurodivergent, how did you notice those similarities, or was it your wife initially who noticed those similarities between yourselves?
Um, so it's interesting. Like I think I can't say for sure, but I think probably many autistic people gravitate towards characters that are like them, right? That you identify with. And so for me growing up, it's going to be no surprise when I say that Spock from Star Trek was uh, a character I so identified with because he was just like me. Uh,
Yeah.
he loved computers and technology. He loved chess, and I'm a chess player, big chess fan. He struggled with understanding his emotions and other people's emotions, and I definitely do and still do. Um, he loves music and I'm a musician, so that's, and then he's very logical minded, and he likes spending time by himself. Um, and he has difficulty making and keeping friends. So it's like, we call that autistic coded. That's a technical term that means the character wasn't written as autistic, but shares so
Yeah.
many characteristics that many of us do on the spectrum. And I have another website that's called Autism in the Media and .com, and in that website I have TV shows and movies where I list all of the different autistic characters throughout history that have been in film and TV shows, and in that way I can also add these autistic coded characters. Another a good one, Jamie, I love growing up. Maybe you did too. Is Sherlock Holmes. I love Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Anything Sherlock Holmes, I've seen like every version, even the old black and white Basil Rathbone. Uh, Steven Spielberg actually did a. If you didn't know that, Steven Spielberg did young Sherlock Holmes, which was a very good movie too. But yes, I've watched the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock version from BBC.
Love.
Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller. Uh, I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan, and I read all of Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories, and he's very similar. Has a lot of the same characteristics as Spock from Star Trek does. And so yeah, I kind of gravitated, Jamie, growing up to these characters. So I always knew, because I would sit by myself during lunch, because no friends, right? I always knew
Yeah.
I was different. I just didn't know the why. And so as I, got the autism diagnosis and started learning more and more and getting to share my story and hearing other stories, that was what's so cool about getting connected to the autistic community is you get to uh, learn from the community, and there's so much to learn. They taught me so much. I'm so thankful for my autistic friends that have shared both in real life and online. So I also have some local autism groups that I get to go to every once in a while, and that's been a great help.
100%. And like, I think when we talk about representation and gravitate towards characters, particularly those who are autistic coded, it's so relatable because now when I think back of Star Trek, I'm like, I loved Spock the way I did. I can't do the actual, do you know the hand? I can't do the
Yeah, I
signal. I
can
don't
do
know. I,
that. Absolutely.
of course you can. I cannot. I've tried for years, and it was like the most embarrassing thing between me and my brother because he could do it and I couldn't, and it broke my
Yeah,
heart. But it was the same for myself. Like I was very drawn to even Sheldon.
yeah,
what is that show called? Like Sheldon really drew me in, and even
yeah,
now, young Sheldon, when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my goodness, that was like I can see scenes of my childhood through that
yeah.
lens, and I think it just shows the power of representation, particularly for young people and for adults, because we don't see representation. And when we historically were seeing representation, it wasn't representation we necessarily was somebody saying I'm autistic. It was you finding ways to relate and to feel this person and say, I've been through that. Maybe they're autistic. And I think that is such a powerful piece we do not talk enough about. I've also shared the website below for anybody who's watching. The website is below. But Jeff, I want to talk about representation a little bit more because in the media, what would you say is your? I think I can guess the answer. It's either going to be Spock or it's going to be Sherlock Holmes. What would you say has been your most truthful portrayal of what you perceive autism to be in media most recently?
Oh, most recently, some of the best ones, I think are, well, film. Let's start with film. Some of the best ones are um, Temple Grandin. If you're not familiar with Temple Grandin, she's a very outspoken autistic person who has a very interesting story. She's older, like me, and I don't want to give away her story. I would just suggest to our viewers and listeners that you look up her story and the movie that they did about her. It's called Temple Grandin. It's spelled Templegrandin, Temple Grandin, and that is a fantastic portrayal. Um, And the other one I would say that I've saw recently is Please Stand By. And the reason I'm thinking of that, Jamie, is because the main character, she is a huge Star Trek nerd, and the story in the movie revolves around her creating this script for a Star Trek episode that she's trying to get published. Um, and I don't want to give away any more of the plot, but it's a very good movie and very well portrayed. So those are two from film that I would say are really good um, portrayals. If you're into action movies, of course, The Accountant, where uh, there's an assassin played by who's like this savant accountant. You'll find obviously a lot of savants in film and TV. That trope has been around forever. That portrayal of autistic people, but that's one, and it's pretty good. And the portrayal is pretty good. Ben Affleck plays the main character, and he does a good job. And then as far as TV shows, um, I would say some of the ones um, that you might be interested in that are pretty good is there's one called um, The Extraordinary Attorney Wu. That's really good. But it's put out by South Korea uh, creative team. Um, there's Heartbreak High. Autistic actor Chloe Hayden plays Quinny in that. Um, of course, there's Love on the Spectrum. There's an Australian and a US version of that series that
Yes.
is pretty good. Um, there's even things like Everything's Gonna Be Okay, which is a really good series as well. Um, there's some that are more well known, but I don't think the portrayal is great. Like The Good Doctor comes to mind.
Yep.
Um, There's others like As We See It is another good one. Um, and if you want some that are more autistic coded, the Queen's Gambit, uh, chess player, of
Brilliant.
course. I have to love that one.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So that's another good one that I like. So those are a few that get you started. But you just go to my website. You can go to town. There are so many. I break it down by decade because it seemed to make more sense that way. And you can. There's a little toggle switch that allows you to move back and forth between TV and movies on the site. And then there's a little place where if you click on it, it'll show you a list view. So that's another way. And you can search too. You can do searches. So
And like to be honest, I love it as well because for me it was a bit like, do you know when you go through like movie? You probably get this all the time from being on the site a lot. You go through the genres and you see the change in like imagery and the makeup and the hair makeup, and it's like going through a blast in time in a way. And it's like, wow, did we really wear our hairs back in that gap there? Do we really think that was fashion back then? It's really interesting, and it's the portrayal as well. I think that tells a story as we kind of move through time and really get to more current or in the last decade even, we see the shift, and particularly around having actors and actresses and non-gender conforming actors or I don't actually know the word there, but people who are representative in media who actually have the lived experience. And it goes such a long way, doesn't it, to have that actual person, betraying what it is like from the actual lived experience. Because we talked about the good doctor there, and I can remember before I had my diagnosis, I was watching this, and I don't know why it didn't sit right with me in the sense that I was just like, this isn't right. This can't be a accurate reflection. It was like they had created a superpower or a super way that you know what everybody else in the room doesn't know. And I was like,
yeah,
that's not right about this. And then when I got my diagnosis, of course it made sense. I was thinking, well, that is not the case because a lot of the times I have to lean into people for support, but it just shows the diversity because it was people ranting and raving about how great this is. But then when you ask a lot of actually autistic individuals, it's like, no, don't say the name. We shouldn't even be talking about it. We probably get told off for talking
yeah,
about it. But I
yeah.
think it's so important to have that accurate reflection. I'm conscious of time because I think we can have a conversation for quite a long time. And I think what we will need to do is do a live where we actually take people through your website. Apologies we didn't get that today. As we know, I'm registered blind, and goodness knows what would happen if we try to continue to screen share for yourselves. So we will get this into a session because I think it's so important, or get a resource onto Kind Theory's website where people can actually go and have a way of knowing how to navigate this. I think that would be so important. But I want to speak about Kind Theory just as we approach the last few minutes, because you are on the board of Kind Theory, and I want to hear about your experiences. What firstly got you involved with Kind Theory, and what keeps you going? Where does that passion come from for it?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. So Samar, who's the director of Kind Theory, um, I got in touch with her after reading, uh, going through the website and through her, I think at that time the LinkedIn posts, and I didn't realize that they were located near me. They're here in Texas, and she's very close to to where I'm located. And I was so excited because I loved her mission statement
Yeah.
and everything about it. I just was immediately fell in love. So I reached out and contacted her and kind of told her my story, and then we got together and talked a bit, and just to see if we'd be a good fit, of course. And I there's so many things we could I could spend another 30 minutes talking about that,
Yeah.
Jamie. But I love her heart and the mission, and her mission statement, and we have some many exciting things coming up. I don't want to uh, say something and ahead of time, but there's some exciting things coming up that I can't wait for Summer to share.
100%. And you're 100% right. I think we probably need more than half an hour because just to explain tomorrow in a sentence or in 3 minutes, it doesn't do justice, because I think what Kind Theory has done, I look at yourself. You're right across the way across the world. You know, you're at the start of your day, the middle of your day. I'm in Belfast. It's the evening time, and I think of that connection. And we never would have had the opportunity to do this. And that's what I love is at the heart of Kind Theory is the people, the connection, the people with the lived experience, but not just the lived experience, but going out, people who are making change themselves and are bringing that back. And I think my message to everybody listening to this is, as we know, Kind Theory is a charity. We are looking for people to get involved, people to sponsor. We are helping individuals gain employment, supporting them in the community. We are helping provide neuroaffirming care, diagnosis. I think every penny, whatever you can do to help us, is much appreciated. Or if there's possibilities of partnering, please reach out to Kind Theory. Our website is at the bottom of the screen, because I think a lot of the times we know how great things are when we're involved, but when you're not directly involved, you see this, you're like, oh no, I'll just scroll on. But I think have a look at this mission, have a look at what Kind Theory is doing, because for me, I'm surprised it's not global on a global scale yet, because we need more kindness in this space. But Jeff, I'm rambling. This is my ADHD. I'm taking us on a journey. I want to give you some time to do a closing remark. So I wanted to pass over to yourself. What would you say to people who are maybe thinking about getting involved with Kind Theory, or what would your message be to people?
Don't sell yourself short. We need all the help that we can get. So just reach out and contact us. You can find the contact information on our website at www.kindtheory.org. And we're interested in partnering with people that have all kinds of different skills and interests. So don't be shy.
Don't be shy. I love that. Um, I think we are on time, and I think this is the first time we've ever done this in this live series. We're on time. You can tell there's two autistic individuals on here who's keeping each other going. But Jeff, for me, honestly, this is the first time we've spoken, and I am just so privileged to know you. And you're probably going to get tortured by me now with this website, because I'm like, could you have another version of this? But everybody, from me and Jeff, and from us, my kind theory, sorry, my kind of theory, and Kind Theory, we hope you have the most amazing week, and we hope you join us next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.